Well, good afternoon. This is our second Zoom meeting. Just want to let you know you should have seen a class reminder about your Chapter 4 test this week, your Assignment 4, which is a concept statement, and your DQ4. Now, what we're going to do now is, if you look at our schedule, I need to do this now so you can be aware of what's going on. Right after spring break, which is the 1st to the 7th, the week, we will have our presentations for your business. Now, what I will do about a week before that, I will send a copy of a Google Charts or Google Sheets, it's called, with dates for the week and the times that you can sign up. So we will probably have one for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. One of the ones during the work week will be on in the morning, and one on Saturday will probably be early afternoon. So you have an opportunity for a Saturday chance or a morning set. I will send you an email saying you're available to sign in. I will give you a link, and then you can sign up and put your names, similar to what these people did for last semester. Okay? So you should expect to get from me a email stating, and here's the link to sign up, and you go and put your name in and sign up, and I will check from time to time to make sure it's happening. So that's going to happen. We're doing this way ahead of time. Please understand that you need to prepare to do this after spring break. So the week of the 8th to the 13th, we're going to have I will set up days and times for you to sign up to do your presentation. Now, if you look in the class, it says that the due date is 4/20. That is my date to submit the grades. We don't wait and do it on 12/20 to do it. We have to schedule these over a number of days because it would be impossible to do everybody in one day. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I am going to move now to this week's PowerPoints. And we will start them. We'll go into the PowerPoints. So one of the key things in relationship to what we do when we develop a business, we have to spend a considerable amount of time on something called a business model. The business model becomes the main element of the things that you need to do to develop and strategize how you're going to set up your business. Business model is really your plan or recipe on how you can create, deliver, and capture values for your stakeholders or your customers. The proper time to develop this model is following your feasibility analysis stage and prior to fleshing out the operational details of the company. A firm's business model is integral in your ability to succeed both in the short term during startup and the long term. Now, there are really two categories of business models. One is a standard business model. This category is used to identify standard business models that are used by businesses. These depict existing plans or recipes that can be used to determine how you will create, deliver, and capture your value. There are a number of standard and common business models, which will be shown on the next slide. For instance, you can use an advertising business model. Google and Facebook use that. Auction business model, eBay and Ubid, bricks and clicks business model, Apple's, Barnes and Nobles. Franchise business model, any type of franchise, like Panera Bread or 24-Hour Fitness. A freemium business model, Dropbox or Evernote. Low-cost business model, Warby Parker, which are glasses, and Southwest Airlines. And a manufacturing retail business model, Apple, Fitbit, and Tesla. Which this means is you can view, since all this stuff tends to be public with public companies, you can view and analyze and investigate business models of like businesses, and you can use some of their information that they have to see if it pertains. Now, the next category of business model is a disruptive business model. The second category is the business model. Disruptive business are rare, are the ones that do not fit any of the profiles in a standard business model. They are impactful enough that they disrupt or change the way business is conducted in an industry or in a niche of it in an industry. The next slide will depict 4 types of business models that can tend to be disruptive. For instance, direct-to-customer computer sale. Dell was the one that started that. It became very disruptive when they did it. Online text ads and search engines, Yahoo and Google. Software as a service, allowing users to access your software and your data, Salesforce.com. And of course, cloud-based services to connect riders or people, Uber and Lyft. Now, the authors of this book, Barringer and Island, had developed a business model that, believe it or not, over the course of the 12 years that I consulted small businesses, I used this as my checklist to analyze and review business models of ongoing businesses. Now, although this one does not agree with everything or precisely the components of a business, many agree that a successful business has common set of attributes. These attributes can be laid out in a visual framework or a template. So they developed this template so you can use it to see which individual parts and their interrelationships, shown on the next slide. So it can be cumbersome and overwhelming, but with a template like this, it allows you to identify the key elements and pick out the things that are important that you need to put in it. In this case, you have core strategy, resources, financials, and operations. And within each one of these boxes, there are key elements that you need to look at. In the first area is core strategy. The first component of their business model is core strategy. Core strategy describes how your firm plans to compete relative to your customers. The primary elements of core strategy are your business mission, your basis for differentiation, your target market, and your product and market scope. Business mission is a statement which describes why you exist and what is your business model supposed to accomplish. It is carefully written and used properly. A mission statement can articulate a business overachieving priorities and act as its financial and moral compass. Gives you a guide to set you on the path you need to go. A well-written mission statement is something that a business can continually refer back to as it makes important decisions in other elements of its business, as well as change it as you move along. Your basis of differentiation. It's important that a business clearly articulate the points that differentiate your product and service from your potential competitors. A company's basis of differentiation is what causes consumers to pick your company over another. It is what solves a problem and satisfies a customer need. It is best to limit the company's basis of differentiation to 2 or 3 key points. Make sure that these points of differentiation refer to the benefits rather than the features. Target market. You need to identify your target market in which you will compete is extremely important. A target market is a place within a larger market segment that represents a narrow group of customers with similar interests. A firm's target market should be made explicit in the business model template in this section. Product and market scope. A company product and market scope defines products and markets on which you will concentrate. Most firms start with a narrow or limited product market scope and pursue adjacent product and market opportunities as your company grows and becomes more financially secure. In completing a business model template, a company should be clear about its initial product and market scope and project 3 to 5 years out in the future in terms of what you plan on doing to expand. Your resources. The second component, main component of business model is resources. Resources are the inputs a firm uses to produce, sell, distribute, and sell a product or service. A firm's most important resources, both tangible and intangible, must be both difficult to imitate and hard to substitute by your competitors. This stipulation is necessary for an individual company's model to be competitive over the long term. Now, one of the key things in resources is developing what we call core competencies. It's a specific factor or factors that support your firm's business model and sets it apart from rivals. A core competency can take on various forms, such as technical know-how, an efficient process, a trusting relationship with customers, expertise in product design, and so forth. Most startups will list 2 or 3 core competencies in their business template. Key assets. Key assets are the assets that a firm owns that enable its business model to work. The asset can be physical, financial, intellectual, or human. Physical assets include workspace, equipment, vehicles, and distribution networks. Intellectual assets include resources such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, along with company's brand and its reputation. Financial assets include cash, lines of credits, and commitments from investors. Human assets include you, the founder or founders, and its key employees and in your advisors, if you have any. Please bear with me for a second. I lost this. I have to get it back. Bear with me. Somehow I lost it. We're having a thunderstorm right now, so please be patient. I'll get it back in a second. We're having a thunderstorm, and I apologize. Okay, so we're almost there. I apologize. We're almost there. Hopefully that will not happen again. Okay, now we're at key assets. We talked about those. Key assets, once again, are assets that the firm owns that enables the business model to work. The assets can be physical, financial, intellectual, or human. Physical assets include your physical space, equipment, vehicles, and distribution network. Intellectual assets include resources such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets, along with your company's brand and reputation. And the financial assets, once again, are cash, lines of credit, and commitments from investors. And then, of course, the human assets are the company's founder, you or your founders, and your key employees and advisors. Now, the third component of this whole business model matrix is financials. It's a separate component, and it's very important for you to understand the financials of the business model and focus on your finances. This is the only section of the firm's business model that describes how it earns money. It's extremely important. You need to know where the money goes. For most business, the manner in which it makes money is one of the most fundamental aspects of your business model. So it's important for you to know where your money goes. Now, first, in relation to this, you'd have to look at revenue streams. Revenue streams describe the way in which you make money. Some businesses have a single revenue stream while others have several. For example, most restaurants may have a single revenue stream. The customers order a meal and pay for it. Other restaurants may have several revenue streams, such as a catering service, product sales, such as a specialty barbecue sauce, apparel products with the name of the restaurant on them. So you can have multiple revenue streams. You may decide only to start with a single one and work on up, but you have these areas. Important to realize what the financial arrangement and the streams of the money you make with that. In light of also that, you need to understand your cost structure, where your most significant costs are incurred to support the business model. It costs money to establish a basis of differentiation, develop competencies, acquire and develop key assets, and so forth. Generally, the goal for this box is a firm's business model is threefold. Identify whether the business is cost-driven or value-driven. Identify the nature of your costs in the business, and identify major cost categories. And of course, another piece of this is financing and funding. Many businesses rely on a certain amount of funding and financing to bring their business model to life. At the business model stage, projections do not need to be completed to determine the exact amount of money that is needed. An approximation is sufficient. There are three categories of costs to consider: capital costs, which is for equipment and stuff like that; one-time expenses such as building your website or training employees; and then there's also ramp-up expenses, mostly which are incurred before you earn money. Then financing and funding. Some are able to draw from personal resources to fund their businesses. In other cases, the business may be simple enough that it is funded from simply enough to be funded from its own profits from day one. In many cases, however, an initial infusion of funding or financing is needed. The business model template should indicate the appropriate amount of funding that you believe you need and where the money will most likely come from. Now, the last final quadrant of this business model focuses on operations. Operations are both integral to the firm's overall business model and represents the day-to-day heartbeat of the firm. First one is product and service production. This section focuses on how your company, firm products and services are produced. For example, if the firm sells a physical product, the product can be manufactured or produced in-house, or produced by a contract manager, or via an outsourced provider. This decision has a major impact on all aspects of the firm's business model. If a firm is producing a service rather than a physical product, you need to describe how the service will be produced, should be provided. Also, your channels. The company's channels describe how it delivers its product or service. Businesses sell either direct through intermediaries, such as distributors, or via a combination of both. Some firms enjoy a sales force that calls on potential customers to try to close sales. This can be expensive as a strategy. And then key partners. The final element of the business model is key partners. Startups in particular typically do not have sufficient resources or fundings to perform all the tasks necessary to make their business models work. So they will rely on key partners to perform important roles. The next table will show us some key partnerships that are available for you. Joint venture, an entity created by you and other firms pooling a portion of their resources to create a joint-owned organization. A network, a local firm organizes with interdependent businesses on a complex array of firms. Consortium, a group of organizations with similar needs that band together to create a new entity to address those needs. Strategic alliance, an arrangement between two or more firms that establishes an exchange relationship and has no joint ownership involved. And then trade associations, which are formed by firms in the same industry to collect and disseminate trade information, offer legal and technical advice, furnish training, and provide a platform for collective bargaining. Out of all these, the trade association is a true asset for you to help you resolve and validate key aspects of your business. Okay, now at the beginning of this, when you see when I emailed you, the beginning of it talked about how we're going to conduct the business presentations. And the beginning of this, I showed how you're going to get an email, and when the week of April 8th is when we'll do it. So if you see the beginning of this presentation, you'll be able to see how we're going to handle that. So you have a long-term vision of how you have to do this, and you have until the week of the 8th to pick a date to present. So it's a lot of information. If we go back and look at something real quick, there's no easy way to do this. You have to just go through and do this. So what we're looking at is a key matrix of areas that you need to look at, and some of these we might forget. So this is a great way to have some breadcrumbs to be able to pick each individual item that pertains to you. Now, the one question you have to realize that all of this does pertain to your business, no matter how big and small in relationship to what you would want to do. Each one of these elements tends to be a competency that you have to address to ensure that you can compete against your competitors. So when we look at this, it is a chart that allows you to depict each one of these boxes and address them one at a time. Now, the other thing you have to realize is that this template is not static. Once you've completed it, it can be changed as you proceed to continue to validate certain key items along this way. So you have the ability to change this as you move along and grow. So it's not static. Once you do it, that doesn't mean it's done, because as you look at these and change some of these items that you have in boxes for various reasons that you looked at and validated and checked with other areas of expertise, that you'll find, well, you know what, maybe I'll change the business mission, or maybe I'll change the target market now that I'm growing, or maybe you will look at a different core competency for your resources, eliminate some and do other ones. So every time you look at this, it's just a key way, so you're not sitting there and not knowing a fairly structured and laser-driven way for you to use this model to allow you to research and develop and validate key aspects of the competencies and items that you need to start the business. So that's it. William, do you have any questions? Make sure. Let me just make sure of something real quick, participants. You're not muted, so you're good. Just trying to see if I can find a way to get you. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I can't see you, but if you don't have any questions, that's it for this week. We'll address the other areas of the presentations later down the road, probably next week or the following week. Get a chance to show you what the requirements are and be able to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing. And unless you have any questions, William.
Hello.
Hello, William.
How's it going?
Good, how you doing? It's a fairly lengthy chapter, but this to let you know, I don't know if you came on when I talked about it. I, for over 12 years, used this template as my guide to evaluate business models of my customers. And although it seems tedious and laborious, those are all key elements that you need to adjust somewhere along the line. Now, some you may not address right away, but you must, at one point in the time, you have to make a conscious decision that you have to have all of those filled out prior to you making a decision to start up and open. And remember, anything else you do in relationship to this, it's important that you realize that these are elements to allow you to research key elements that you need to do and to constantly change them and validate them and search and research things to allow you to be able to put all, because one of the hardest things in opening a business is you're starting with a blank sheet of paper. So the authors of this book came up with this excellent tool called their business model template. And if you go through and reread it and look at it again and again, you find it's an excellent tool to give you the breadcrumbs you need to make sure you cover all your bases. Now, the other thing is at the beginning of this, and you'll see it when I send the recording, we talked about this week's assignments, which are Chapter 4 tests, the Assignment 4, which is the concept statement, and DQ4. And the other thing I addressed is how we're going to do the presentations and how we're going to set it up on Google Charts and how I'm going to email you to show you how you can sign up for the appropriate date and time. So you'll be able to see that at the beginning of this, and it'll make more sense to you. So yeah, this is a fairly probably one of the most detailed chapters in the book, but it's very important to realize these are all the key elements, and somebody has put them together for us to allow us to start and not at a blank sheet of paper, but gives you an excellent tool to research the items that you need to. Some of these you may not even have thought of, but they're all there. They're all inclusive, and it's an excellent tool to allow you to address the things that are important to get that business model going.
All right.
So you'll be able to see that at the beginning of this, what we're planning on doing. It's scheduled for the week of the 8th to the 12th. But the other thing is, you'll see that there's a due date of like April 20th. That's my date to my final date to put grades in. I couldn't do 15 or 18 people in one day. It's impossible. So we spread them
Mhm.
out to make it a lot easier.
I hear you.
Okay, anything I must admit, you and the rest of the kids in this class, you're all doing very well. You're all doing
Thank you.
very well. You keep it on base. Everything I see, you all do a very good job, and I appreciate it. And till next one, and maybe in 2 weeks or maybe next week, till the next one, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. Okay.
I got you. Sounds good.
And I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have a good day.
You too. Bye.
I'll see you.